do your R&R motion with your R&R hearing, and then you approve it. You approve the budget during the budget meeting, and they just put that in their interest letter that one stuff over it. Roll call. Yeah. Roll call, you call names. Sure.
Everybody ready? Okay, 6 o'clock here, so we'll go ahead and we'll start out tonight with the revenue neutral rate, the budget hearing for anyone that crowd would like to express their opinion or have any comments about the budget and their revenue neutral. Since no one here has any comments or somebody here, we'll go ahead and close that hearing. Then I move to approve resolution 090924C, a resolution expressing property taxation policy USD 379 Clay County, Kansas with respect to revenue neutral tax rate for financing an annual budget for 2024-25. And a second, those going to be roll call.
Andy Alt,
Yes.
Jason Bruce,
Yes.
Jeff Canuza,
Yes.
Tracy Glaze,
Yes.
Linda Slichter.
Yes.
David Drummer,
Yes.
Shannon Sterling,
Yes.
7-0.
Motion passes 7-0. Very good. Now we'll call the regular school board meeting to order. For September 9th, the first thing we need is approval of agenda. I move to approve the agenda. Got a motion to approve? Second. The second, all those in favor? Yes, Lynn.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. Okay, pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Appreciate everybody being here tonight, and on the video part again, and it'll be on there, for those who get a chance, you're gonna go back and watch it later. It's on there, so appreciate everybody here tonight and those watching. Communication received, I don't think I got anything from this. So now we'll do citizens open forum. We have one person. So the board appreciates patrons taking time to talk to us about our policies and procedures. We set aside this time every meeting to hear from the public. Your comments should be directed towards board policies or procedures our administrators established to carry out these policies. This is not an appropriate time or place for patrons to make comments of a personal nature about any district employee or student. Persons making comments which violate the policy or the privacy rights of the district, employees and students will be asked to stop speaking or cease their remarks. If a patron or parent has a concern with one or more employees, the board will refer that person to the appropriate administrator, and the board will follow up at a future meeting. Person speaking will be allowed 3 minutes each to express their opinions. Thank you for taking the time to discuss district business with the board. So, Duffy?
Whatever. Just 3 minutes, whatever, 5.
Well, it's been the 3 since I've been here. That's been the policy.
Well,
Go ahead.
Oh, I can't get through there. I'm talking about the handicapped up at the football field, the handicap signs. What I heard, it was a mess last week. A lot of people I've talked to are handicapped. They can't go to the game. It's still a long ways to go. So my suggestion is on the east side of the stadium, on the visitor side, the 35-yard line, both yard lines, both ways. If you pull in there on an angle, you got a great view. If you take down, forget the no parking signs, take them down, put reserved handicap signs this high, because a lot of people aren't gonna get out of their vehicle anyway. Nobody's gonna get out of their vehicle and walk 2 blocks around. But a lot of guys can't go to the game because there's, number one, no place to park. And I know they'd like to see it because I've talked to them. They were good athletes in high school. Their kids were good. Now they're trying to watch their grandkids and they can't because it's, there's no place to park. And sure, they're not gonna miss out on any tax revenue because hell, most of the guys are handicapped are over my age, over 65, get it free anyway. So it's not like you're gonna miss out on some tax revenue. I don't know, does anybody have any questions about it? It looks to me like you could park in an angle just like you do downtown. Probably put it half a dozen on one side, half a dozen on the other side. You might have to put a little bit of rock down there, flatten it out. But put a handicap sign where they can write, 3 foot high where they can. You don't need curb stops where they can touch it with their vehicle and they'll stop. I think I can't imagine it being very expensive to do that. Is there any discussion? I mean, that's really all I gotta say. It's just that, and I did talk to the police chief and they're gonna start watching that handicap parking, which is there now, a little better. I heard it got out of control a little bit. I do not know the answer. I don't know if that's true or not. But that's, my thing. I mean, you guys drive by there when you get a chance to look at it, and from the 35-yard line on over, it's a great view. And it's, because the people that are handicapped, they're gonna pull in there on an angle, just like you do downtown. They're not gonna get out their vehicle anyway. But it's a good view for them, and now we've got a good team. And it's gonna get real busy. I got any time left?
15 seconds.
15 seconds.
But Duffy, we've talked about this at one other time, so.
At the meeting, I'm sorry.
No, we'll bring it up and discuss it again and try to carry it a little bit farther, okay?
Okay, well, I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate that.
All right, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks. I think that's it. Presentation. For tonight. It's got the policy changes.
Yeah, just one policy, and I guess the law changed, and so ASB is recommending to update work comp policy to match the law.
If anybody has any questions over that, what they put in there is that we won't vote on it till next month. Since it's a policy change. But that deals directly with workman's comp. Any questions right now? Okay. So then consent agenda items, any questions on the consent agenda items?
On the approved waivers.
Yeah.
I went back and looked last year, I couldn't remember what we did last year. Like Project Lead last year, 76,000, it's only 26 or 25 and change this year, like, what's the big change there?
I think we did it just for the ones that signed up. Last year, the total we put on there was for all the elementary kids. And this year, not all elementary kids signed up, so we just. Had it reflect more the number of the ones who actually signed up for it.
So we provide waivers for textbook, basic instruments, and then the project lead.
The fee we don't waive is the technology fee at $9.12. Unless the homeless or foster care is kicked in.
And the driver's ed isn't considered that because that comes back from the state, that reimbursement, is that right?
Right, so you guys, I think it was June or July when you approved the textbook fee, the driver's ed fee was on there at $250.
Right.
And we're part of a grant through the Department of Transportation. And so that the kid has to completely complete everything and then they get the $200 and it comes to us and then we distribute it back to the families. Yeah. So that would be like a year from now.
The only, the thing I had was I just went what the basketball goal improvements were. It was $9,200.
So that's an in and out, so you should see a donation in the 35 account.
Okay.
For that, there's like an accommodate the basketball association and CCIF combined to improve the goals that they use for the youth, and they paid for it all. So it's just an in and out. So there's a donation from those two groups, and then we.
Then there are goals. Are they movable? I'm just curious. Are these ones they move around?
Yeah, they're so they can be lower. Because those don't adjust at the high school.
Right.
And so Thomas Mulligan built the ones they used to use are old, and Thomas Mulligan manufactured and built some units that somehow fit on there and lower, for the youth to use.
Are you going to give us a little bit of update? I know they were in the principals.
I got one in mind too.
The only thing on the principal reports I was curious about was the credits. The dual credit numbers. And
That might be in my report.
that's later. Oh, that where it is. I guess there's one here, but you
It's in
have more.
Bud's.
You have more
Sure.
complete one.
Mhm.
Okay, well, wait, we'll wait.
Sure.
That's fine. All right, anything else? Questions? I moved to approve the consent agenda. Ready? Second, all those in favor?
Yes.
All right, motion carries 7-0. Board reports, anything that would like to comment on from the board? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to thank our local law enforcement and EMS for providing their professional services to our district events. It is very much appreciated. I know it's Friday night at the ball game. I visited with the sheriff who was there. I noticed our EMS was on standby. And I know that they do that at our other location also. So, but a big thank you for taking their time to do that also.
Anybody else? Anything? Kick it off the year. All right, if not, we'll move on. Brett, superintendent's report.
And so I won't read everything in there, but enrollments. Updated enrollment report I put in there this afternoon, so that's the latest Power School numbers, and so. If you look at K-12 and pre-K sped, those are the guaranteed funding that will operate on base aid per pupil each year. And as of today, and then remember, it's still not official till the 20th, we'll still have some movement, but we're about 50 students down over last year, which is significant. About 37 of those are the difference between last year's seniors and this year's kindergartners. And so once you take that difference away, we're still down about 13 students throughout the district. So as of now, it's looking like we're down about 50 students, which is substantial, of any change within the last decade. So over a 1 year time period anyhow. So that's something I'm sure we're gonna have to talk a lot about as the year progresses. The other thing is the capital outlay project. We put a timeline, I think, last month. I think a lot of individuals, when you all go through the process of adopting a capital outlay budget for the next year. So we remember, we started that in February last year and worked through it in the spring. And I think a lot of individuals oftentimes think, well, as soon as that's approved, it's just gonna be done. Well, our fiscal year doesn't start until July 1, so we can't even use those funds till July 1. And then, of course, you know, RFP and that whole process takes a while. And so lots of times when you approve capital outlay budget, many of the larger projects aren't done until the following June. So they're the summer projects in the following year. So anyhow, to help with that, we put together a little bit of a little timeline. We included that in your packet for you. Additionally, we kind of looked at, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 projects that are going to likely involve some kind of accessibility, ADA, engineering, or have something to do with fire code. And so we are gonna, it's not gonna be as simple as just saying, hey, Craig, go do this. We're gonna need an approved set of plans that has a, you know, an architecture stamp. They don't have to be substantial, but we will need that for our records to make sure we're all good with fire department, ADA, and that kind of stuff. And so we wanted to throw an idea at you about taking those 5 highlighted projects, talking with an architect to to draw up a set of plans and a scope of work for each of those projects. And then kind of package them to one to increase our, for lack of a better term, buying power. You know, make it attractive to a highly qualified contractor and put out those plans with a scope that's written by an architect. Put out more of a traditional RFP. And then accept sealed bids, and then somewhere within that timeline, depending on how long it takes to draw plans and things, but to get something approved this winter, January, February, bring that RFP to you guys, hire a general contractor to manage these 5 projects for us. You know, Craig, he's a man of all trades, but there's just no way he can tackle these things on his own, and just project management too, just to make sure it's done right. I think having a professional manage the projects might be in our best interest. So just wanted to solicit your thoughts on that and see what you thought about moving forward kind of with that.
And then we'll go to getting the clock intercom and that parking lot lighting.
Yeah, we'll keep working
So
on
what,
those.
what are we doing on parking lot lighting? We haven't heard anything about that.
So I think that's what Tracy's talking about, is getting that out to.
McKinley.
Yeah, but what are we doing?
McKinley, the middle school parking lot, those lights out, how dark it is out there in the parking lot.
So we adding lights,
Just
we
gonna-
changing lights, we,
Yeah, so briefly, when we had some estimate, basically, there's a certain wattage and type of light in there. There's enough power to go up there with a larger light and for, you know, kind of a larger stance, and then putting new lights on top and adding to a couple of poles, and
so we're adding some new and we're changing what's there.
yeah. And
And the intercom deal, it says reprogram complete. Are we still bidding out a new intercom system?
so we're still in the process, but right now, early on, we were able to finally get a company, and Craig helped me here, Ben, but we were able to get a different company to come out, and they kind of dove into it a little bit, and they were able to, is reprogram the right word?
They got the original configuration back. That was, when it crashed, the original configuration didn't load, so they had to, we went in and found the original configuration and reloaded it.
And made some repairs.
Yeah.
And very low cost. We're talking a couple thousand instead of 20. So the intercom in the middle school works now. And it is up and functioning.
One room's having a little trouble, we just think we need to rewire some more. Other than that, it's working good.
So it's not nearly as substantial as we thought from the beginning. The clocks, Ben's in the process of reevaluating those. They're currently wired in. And in 3 of our 5 buildings, the clocks are kind of, for lack of term, are on their own, and they use a radio frequency to update. And we're kind of leaning towards replacing the clocks with those, which again, we won't get anywhere near the 20,000. So this year, I think that our plan would be to look at upgrading, having kind of BHS is kind of evaluating this part of the facilities, the infrastructure within our intercoms, and maybe tackling one of our most neediest intercom systems to see if we can utilize that grant fund combined with what we have budgeted to upgrade at least one building, whichever one needs it the most. And so we'll be visiting with you down the road about what that plan is next few months. But the middle school, much better than we originally anticipated. Ben did a great job working with that new company to come in and figure that problem out, so. What do you guys think about packaging those 5 together and let somebody GC those things?
What architecture with the girls' bathroom? Are we just replacing the stalls or what are we doing?
So ADA access. Anytime, my understanding is anytime you remove anything ADA, you better have at least a stamp drawing, and it might be something simple. Less than an hour or two of work on an architect that drew it up, puts their stamp on it and says it's ADA approved. So I don't think it's like a substantial, but in our best interest, we want that set of plans that. So if the fire marshal or OSHA or somebody OCR questions us, we can produce a set of.
I think that's good. Put it all together and try to get the best deal we can.
On that, the spectrum lease, I've been talking to you guys a lot about this, talked to Dusty about it and, a big thanks to Twin Valley. This is kind of their world, and they don't have anything to do with our lease, but kind of use them as they put me in touch with somebody who deals with these FCC licenses all the time, buys and sells, and got some good intel. Long story short, T-Mobile, we own 4 licenses. We don't use them for anything. To my knowledge and understanding, they're not usable to us in any way now or in the future. T-Mobile does have our long-term 30-year lease. We have 24 and a half years left on it. They did reach out to me regarding the possibility of buying out our lease and taking ownership of that. And so, if you guys are agreeable, my thought would be do some negotiating, see what they might be willing to pay, and then bring a number back to you guys in a month and see if you like it or you don't like it, or you want to consider something else.
My first thought is to try to get whatever the amount is.
Sure.
For the years, what they pay us for the years and see how close we can get to that, getting that extra dollar. But, yeah, but since we're not using it and can't use it, I might as well try and get that money. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Because currently right now, we're in the, 800 megahertz range on the school bus.
Our radius, yeah.
Okay. That's what I wondered, so.
Plus, this is located down by Manhattan.
And it only has a 3-mile use.
So there's no way we could use it even in the future. So, but if we could get in advance on that, get that money on that lease right now, or as close as we can, I think it'd be a good deal. Yeah. So, yeah. See what you can do.
Thank you for checking into that.
Yeah, you bet. See what we come up with and get back to you.
Anybody else have any questions on that?
Anything else in my report?
Anybody else have any questions for Fred? If not, we'll move on to Anita. Any questions on Anita's report? Okay. About the opening positions, Anita, how are we doing with that?
Well, we have one para at Wakefield we need to add on there. We thought we had that position filled and we backed out at the last minute, so we're still advertising for that, but everything, well, I just hate to say everything's full because it just last, so I'm not gonna say that.
I was wondering, like on the evaluations, is there that many each year? that you
But
having to do?
That's all the teacher ones. When you have new teachers, they have to get 2 a year. That's the, and our staff turnover in special education is. Yeah, It's a lot.
Anybody have any questions for Nina? Thanks, Nina. If not, we'll go on to Jacqueline.
Questions or
Do you have anything you want to emphasize on there first, Jacqueline?
do you want me to talk about the college credits?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Sure. So the numbers that are in my report are our students that are utilizing an online option. So students that are in 11th or 12th grade, can use a maximum of 2 class periods a day to take an online course. It could be through Edgenuity for maybe a course that's connected to their IPS, a class that they're really interested in, that we don't offer on site. Or it could be through a community college. There are quite a few college courses out there through Allen, Colby, and Cloud that, if not free, are at a very discounted rate to the students while they are in high school. That was started with a Senate bill a few years ago, and basically what happens is, I'll give an example. Let's say they take a college animal science class through Allen County. Allen County gets to count the CTE portion of that, and we get to count them as taking a full-time class. And so in return, our kids are getting a discounted college credit, and some of them, like I said, are free. Popular ones that our kids take are psychology or sociology, some of those classes that are general ed requirements, no matter where they're gonna go. Down at Wakefield, we have kids taking college algebra, English comp 1 and 2. Because we don't have an on-site offering for them there, but they are taking advantage of those online. Something
Yeah, I
that,
noticed that was the big jump. Was it
Yeah.
Wakefield went from 9 to 21 credits, where the high schools is pretty consistent.
like I said, these are 11th and 12th graders. The senior class last year at Wakefield was only 10, and this year they're, I think we're at 22, 23, 25. So it's higher. So that was part of it. And we have quite a few of them taking the English comp 1 and 2 and college algebra. And with that, like, I'll use college algebra as an example. We originally were going to have them in one of our 2 math rooms, but it just was too loud and distracting for them. So they are utilizing the library where the library aid is. But they have a time during the day they can go talk to Mr. Freeman or Mrs. Bikey if they have a question related to the content. And then what's not on here is we have 2 teachers at Clay Center High School that offer on site. And that's 91 enrollments. That's not 91 kids, because some kids are in comp 1 and college algebra. So it's kind of a double count there. And we have some seniors who didn't take speech as their juniors, so they're taking speech and comp as a senior. So, the exposure to the college classes, number one, they can get it a little cheaper. They can get some of their general eds kind of under their belt, so maybe they don't have to take a school of a load. They have access to our teachers, people they're comfortable with, and can feel like they can ask questions. So I was happy to see those numbers increase. I know for Wakefield and Play Center, I'll have it on our dashboard here in a few months, but I think that 91 is higher as well. After we go through September 20th, we'll be able to tell you what percentage of students are considered a dual credit student. To be dual credit, you have to be in at least one dual credit class. So we'll have that percentage for you after the term.
Is there a minute, like when they get to be seniors, is there a minimum hours you take during the day, or?
Well, to be considered a full-time student, you have to be enrolled the whole day.
But some of that, like they're out of school. right?
You might have up to 2 hours doing internship. Some do 1, some do 2. As a senior, if you're in good standing, you can increase that second semester, but probably up to 2 hours first semester. Quite a few kids I'd say we have probably half and half doing 1 hour versus 2 hours, just kind of depends on what they're interested in. If you're picking up some of those college hours, you're probably not doing 2 hours of internship. necessarily, maybe just one.
These online, they count towards their hours they're enrolled during the day.
Yes.
Is that right?
So like if it's third hour that they had an opening, that's the hour they go work on their online class.
Any other questions?
I know it's not in your report this month, but I had a question. I guess I was, maybe I just didn't understand it, but I didn't realize that you're gonna take 8 days of the year to teach the teachers that are getting the letters accreditation.
It's 4 days. Letters is 4 days, but there's a group one and a
Oh,
group
yeah.
two.
Okay,
So it's only 4, and that is required by the state. I have no control over that. I actually asked for it to be in the summer. Which I think we would have struggled to get teachers to want to do that, and some of them, just other commitments and requirements that they have, but. You go to a day of training and then you go apply it with your students and you come back, so you have to be in session while you're doing it.
so what are we paying the $2,800?
Because there is 2 hours of work every week outside of it. I can print, I'm going through it myself too. I can show you that every week there's a 2 hours worth of. I did mine yesterday, so you get on and you have a video you watch, you have a book you have to read, you have to take quizzes. Have to work with a student and to submit data to them, like how did this strategy work when you were helping them decode, whatever it is that they've assigned to you.
Is that, was that cost, so do they get substitutes then while they're out of that? Was that cost? Was that figured in the letters?
That's part of our PD and title funds that are paying for the subs, because we couldn't use the ESSER funds because it had to be spent down by this year or by this month. And we can't pay that up front.
Okay.
So,
But Jacqueline budgeted some of our other type of professional.
Anything else for Jacqueline? And then I see where the social studies curriculum, folks doing that. I know last time you said something. I don't know if everybody else agrees, but I would not mind being a part of that. Just to learn that process and more just to sit around and listen and just learn that process. So,
Is that something we have to do, or is there, like, how long's it been since we got it?
this is year 7, so we actually had to buy a year to have the license, because it was a 6-year license.
you know how much that was?
16,000 to up the 1 year on there, so.
This is more, like for me, this is more for future use. We're getting into this enrollment crunch. And changing curriculums is extremely expensive. If something has to be delayed, or if that's an option to do it, how much it would be. And so,
And I could bring you a license report that shows you the year it was purchased and how many years are on the license. We usually do a 6-year license with everything, so.
off the top of your, you can just get to, what's next and when the next curriculum is after social studies.
It was supposed to be electives, which we could look at differently for sure. I know Brett and I talked about that, and then it would go back to math. 2 years.
Here we go.
And I think it's important to note sometimes, over all the years of doing curriculum, sometimes, it could be that Jacqueline gets her committee together. And that is encompassed of that content area teachers, and they say, hey, we really like,
It's happened before.
we
don't
really
wanna
like
change.
what we use. We don't want to, there's always that possibility too. I have no idea if that's the case with social studies or not, but.
I know when we did social studies the last time, as far as Kansas history goes, they just wanted a newer copyright. They liked the same book, they just needed the newer copyright that had some more current pieces in there, so. And I'll be bringing back to you, I had added this one at the end. Senate Bill 19 has the cardiac emergency response plan that will bring back to you. I hope we have a draft by then for consider, and then we will let Pam and Alec kind of look through that and then bring it to you guys once we get that done.
Anything else? Very good. Thank you. All right, is that, so now we're on the budget. Is that right? Yep.
Yeah, and nothing has changed since the presentation last month, but I am happy to answer any questions.
I was curious, Brett, it doesn't have to be, but you put the little summary thing on there. And so like it has our budget for 2024, 25. It has the actual for 22, 23. Sometimes I would like to, what would the budget number, what the budgeted number was and compare that to the actual in the previous 2 years. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and so on those, so the software pre-populates those for us, those summaries for us. And so we get this question every year, but the difference is always in budget authority. So what we have budgeted versus actual is, 90% of that is us obtaining authority. And that's one thing that KSD does when they sit down and does our review. They will go every code by code. And if you don't have enough authority, they'll tell you bump your authority up so you don't get into trouble. And so that's the biggest difference. And so,
What they were, what we budgeted for 22, 23, when we did our spending authority, what amount that was for those 2 years. I just like to compare it to where we're at now. You know what I'm saying? That's all.
Mhm.
So. All right. Any, and I know I should last year, I could probably go back and find last year's budget and then we'll have the 23
it'd be in last,
proposed.
it'd be in last
And
September.
I don't need it broken down, just a total dollar. That's all I'm looking for. But any other questions on the budget proposal? I move to adopt the 2024-25 budget. We have to do the resolution. We already did that, right?
There's the LOB resolution.
Okay. Okay. I'll get Okay, I move to adopt the 2024-25 budget and approve resolution 090924B, the local option budget percentage.
Second.
Motion in a second. All those in favor?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Very good. ESSER closeout.
Yeah, I feel pretty redundant here. We've been talking about this for 3 or 4 months. And this is statutorily, we have to close these out this month. There's nothing new that we haven't been talking about in the last 3 or 4 months. We're gonna capture a few of those licensures that we know our students and teachers are gonna need and do 3-year contracts with them. So that'll help. There's pros and cons to it because it does help offset some loss of revenue in 06 and 08, but we can't forget about them. And because in 3 years, we're gonna have to pick them back up again. And so it's kind of short-term help, but we don't have a glass jar for what might happen in the future. Maybe our enrollment comes up and it helps, we can speculate all day. But finished off retention incentives, the professional development, the letters, the 3 software licenses. We're gonna add some under outdoor learning was an approved category in ESSER, with our some students that could utilize some handicap swings. We're gonna do a couple of those. They are portable, so we can move them to the site where they're needed. And then there's always gonna be some leftover, and so that whatever's left, when it all comes to fruition, we would allocate the remaining to the summer learning program through Project Lead. Even pre-COVID summer learning, Project Lead always hosted 1 week of summer learning. And so whatever monies would be left, and it's probably going to be around $1,000 when it's all said and done, would be designated from that program. So.
Any questions? But, I moved you final approval to move forward with the ESER three closeout plan as presented.
Second.
Second. All those in favor?
Yes,
Motion carries 7-0. Okay.
I am gonna step away from the meeting now, guys, but thank you for working with me on this.
Sure. Thanks.
Thank you.
So then the naming rights on the stadium. So I had a chance to think about this yesterday. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. All right. But I got to thinking about this when we put all those restrictions on it, you know, so everybody, I think we should be more general with it and not put all the restrictions. So this is my thoughts. I got some notes here. And my thoughts are we talk about one more time tonight, then we get it okay at the next meeting. Okay, but my thought would be is to do something more like the 0 to 1,500. I'm good with that. Any 1-year deals is advertised. We're good to go. 0 to 1,500. From there, I think we should, in my opinion, we should do like a 2 to 3 years. And do the 1,501 to 5,000. Then after that, anything gets approved by the board. But I think all the multi-year stuff needs to be approved by the board, anything that goes multi-year. So.
And just to clarify, we have existing policy that says it gets approved no matter the amount anyway. So that is.
Commercial advertising.
Yeah.
Is board approval.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess,
anything we put a name on
sure.
has board approval.
I just don't want to put anybody in a bad position to where we negotiate a contract and somebody agrees and comes to the board, and then we say at the board, well, we don't agree with that. We just need to try to avoid that, I guess is what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Not that it would ever happen, but that's a possibility, you know what I'm saying? But, and you know, I don't know, we should ever do anything more than 2 or 3 years. That's why I stopped at 3 years, just because things change so much. You know, to do something out over 5 years is that, I would rather we keep it. I like the whole deal. I don't know if those have read it and take the 5,000 out for the right of first refusal, and just say anybody who signs a multi-year contract, when that contract comes back up, they'll have the right to renew it first, you know, rather than put a dollar down on any multi-year contract. And take that dollar amount out of it. You see what I'm saying, Brett? I'll give you this, Brett, I've done some scratches on it now. That way they get a chance to do it. It already says could be at a different price and and all that. So I just went the opposite way and thought, well, let's simplify this a little bit. And any multi-year deal, which you say it's already in there, but they can do up to $5,000 at the schools, 2 to 3 years, up to $5,000. And so have that, look at that. I don't know how everybody feels about that. Rather than have 3 levels, basically we got 2 levels. 1 year, which is they're doing now, it's all good, with multi-year 2 or 3 year one. And then after that, be negotiated separate. But that would simplify everything. In my eyes, that's what's best to do with this right now, and take one of those steps out.
Yeah, and we didn't have a real big vision for the reason for bringing this to you guys was prior to this, we didn't have any.
Sure.
We didn't have any agreements in place and we hadn't had any major problems. We just saw the potential for problems when you don't have anything in writing, when someone gives you money and you put something on the wall. You know, the contract was our biggest thing. We just wanted to have a contract in place so that both parties know exactly what the agreement is, how long it lasts and how much it's for. And
Like,
that
if they
way,
want to change it, it's at their expense. I mean,
sure.
it's all in there. And so I just think, yeah, I agree with that.
And so the levels aren't a big deal either way. I don't think for the people that are working with it, it was more of. Because they're gonna have to come and get board approval anytime they sell something anyways, and so it doesn't change that process for them, so I don't think it's a huge deal one way or the other.
Anybody else have anything? Go ahead. Yeah.
I did, they're on, and I didn't catch it there last month, so I apologize, but I noticed the language is still in here from last month when we were talking about it on line item number 4, where it has the business or district circle 1. will pay for the cost of the sign and any labor. Okay, and my main question would be on that, so if the district will, let's say they circle the district, okay? If the district will be paying for the cost of the sign and any labor, does that come out of whatever donation amount is settled on?
Generally,
Yeah, I think the price has to be set off of that. Somebody may tell you that, hey, you pay for it and just put in the cost of advertising. They'd rather do that.
they don't wanna mess with
They
it.
don't want to mess with it. So that's why that's in there, but that would be in addition or in that cost.
Okay, now let's say hypothetically, they're going ahead and a donation of $3,000.
Yeah.
Okay, and so we have graphics design that, they decided going ahead and have the district go ahead and do this. Labor and material, get that all resolved. So anyway, let's say the graphic design comes out to, let's say $1,500.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the case, then are we undercutting ourselves by this agreement by not charging the full $3,000 just for the right to advertise?
Right. Whatever that price is we charge, it should have the advertising price in it and the cost for us to do it. I think that's basically what that's saying. That's when we figure the price of what they're gonna pay us. It would have both.
And lots of times, an example that I can think of recently would be somebody purchases advertising and they want, the class at the high school to do the design and do the printing of it. So it's generally, it's not,
That's what the expense, right?
and so you're talking, and of course, none of our people are gonna sign and agree to anything unless they know the cost of the sign, I mean, why would? It's not in their best interest. The money goes into their activity account anyways, just sell it for 3,000. Off, but there are sometimes definitely when. And most of the time it's the business says, yeah, I want to do that. Here's some money. Here's how much advertising would cost. I don't want to deal with it. Here's the donation. And then we take the donation, we use that donation.
Yeah, but that would have to be figured. So
That's why.
we usually don't get that on a 1-year deal anyway. This would be the multi-year to come before us, but definitely we don't want to sell advertising and just break even.
Well, here's another example, the football signs at the fences.
Right.
So in that example, we'd still sign one of these. It would say district expense because we're taking how much ever it is they sell them for. And we're going and having the signs printed. Most of the time, I assume our signs are donated for free anyways.
And then, like, we do one at the bank and then it's a benefit when they redo it because they don't have to go buy that sign again.
True.
Or that banner.
So you, again, in that example, you'd circle.
Yeah, but that's a 1 year, those are all 1 year. Deals, what those are.
So on the donation amount, the 1,501 to 3,000, so say there was a $2,000 donation. So how many years is that agreement then? Cause it
Well, it
says
can be
1
2
to
or 3
3.
years. No, it's I'll show you the thing, but it's 2 to 3 years. I should just propose we go 2 to 3 years.
Okay,
Okay, and how much it is will depend on where it's located, how much it's seen, location. So,
I was a business and doing this, I'd do it 1 year at a time because it's cheaper.
yeah,
I mean, we approved $750 for all them deals for the football field. And if you take that, you can spend 2,000 for 3 years instead of 3,000. I mean, you think about it.
but if something in a decent location in a gym or something like that, it's gonna be seen a lot more.
Well, I understand that too, but do they take the signs from the football field and put them on the softball fields in the spring?
Probably, so.
Okay, so you're still getting the full year for $750. So,
Right, and my preference is that I would rather stick to 1 year deals myself, what I'm saying? These multi-year contracts should be special situations, like we just did the volleyball thing, and part of that cost of that, Dave, to answer your question, was paid for food, orange and black pack, if I understand it, right? But the actual cost of that. So then they need the advertising, so.
And I did have our guys, I forgot to put it in there now that we're talking about it. I did we have a list of everything we have now. I have it on my. And so, for example, at the high school, with names, including the volleyball, anything that has a name at the high school here in Clay Center. So the volleyball has 3 spots, right? That was what, and then there's only 3 others. So it's very limited. We don't have very many of these situations going on, so we're probably spending a lot of time on something.
That's why I think keep it a little bit more simpler and generalized.
And, that's my deal in a way though, is that I'd rather get the details discussed now and get it finalized in that way, because what we're looking at is that we're gonna be passing this on to the next. Sure. In the future.
And that was the biggest reason for us wanting to get a contract in place, was so when I'm not around or Mr. Ferguson's not around anymore, the people know what the agreement was. So it's in writing.
Thank you.
So we'll put that on for an action item next month.
Yep.
Those and move on from there. Any questions on that? District facility tour dates. I would like to look at the 28th. How that fits into everybody's schedule of October 28th. It's a Monday. So rather have one long day and then do it with the board meeting too and by then, one of the reasons wait till October 28th is this facility study that we're having done, that they're doing for us. Brett believes will be done by then, and they can show up and go through it and what they see needing to be done. And I think that's a good idea to have them there with us with what they identify. And he said they put a lot of hours into that, putting together that plan and working on that. So be interesting. So does that sound good to everybody? This potential date right now?
You just pick date.
Yeah,
See if it works.
yeah. So that's what I would suggest. Shoot for that.
Yeah. Set that as a special meeting.
Yeah, between a special meeting.
Make a motion to set that as a special meeting, and the agenda is just the
Facilities tour.
facility to.
We'll do that next one.
Because we're not gonna do it till the 28th. We'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that in October, okay? If something changes, let's do that then, all right? Give it that. District-wide bleacher basketball service.
Yeah, so this is something that's been on the list for a year and a half now, and we kind of kicked the can, for lack of better terms, last year, and it's a lot of money and it's a big investment, but after learning a little bit more about it, so a year and a half ago, we had a couple of companies come in and give us some estimates. And to clarify, those were service and repair. And so I think originally we were a little cautious, because it's like, well, why would we spend this kind of money for service? But the quotes do include complete service and repair of any equipment. And so, for example, what really pushed this ahead on the timeline was we have some basketball goals that Craig and administration came to me with that they're very concerned about in regards to some of the pulleys and wires and some other safety things that they noticed that they feel like we need to get taken care of right away. We already had it budgeted. The Wakefield bleachers, we went ahead, we were forced to fix last year. The ones here in Clay Center are in very similar condition, and they're not bad condition, but it's just they'll start pulling away from the walls. The wheels need rig grinded or they slide. They need grease, just service, but these quotes do include complete service and repair unless it's major components like a motor or like substantial framing, those kinds of things. And it's still a big number. It is under budget from what we had budgeted, but I think it's something our folks have been saying is a need for a while, and it's time to get done, even though it's hard to spend that kind of.
On the bleachers, is there 1,600 wheels on that? Is that what that is, Craig? Like quantity of 1,600 and
No,
I think that's $1,600.
No, it's $16,000 or $10,000. There's 1,600 of them at $6.
There's 40 on one and 8 on the other.
40 at the high school.
Which one you just had, Jay?
On the Carroll, quote, it's the 800 complete bleacher service and the 1,600 complete bleacher service. I didn't know what that meant. It looks like a quantity times 636. But what's a life expectancy of the bleacher? Do you have any idea, Greg?
I asked, and they said it depends on maintenance, but 30 years,
When were those put in?
no idea.
I remember when I was in high school,
Those bleachers,
at the high school.
those are new since I've been.
I'm thinking,
You were on the board. when
They're
I
new
was in high
since
school.
I
I was
left.
on the board. High school, thanks.
Right now, they're new since I left.
so the biggest difference between the Carroll and the Carroll and the Heartland is Carroll, they don't refinish. They'll only replace new on wheels. And so Carroll said, no, we're only gonna do all new.
It's probably better.
And Heartland said they'll refinish. And as all that really means is they take them off, they take them out, they grind them down, so they have grip. Then they put it back on, but it's significantly cheaper.
Anybody else have any questions? I mean, it's a niche business and it sounds like if somebody wants to start their own business, it's a pretty good deal to get into, but
If you hold off, I'll get a bid in tomorrow.
there's not very many people, it's one of those things, not very many people do it. So, any other questions? In the basketball, though, we don't have any choice.
Yeah, it's safe.
That's,
And they do recommend every 3 to 4 years having them come out and service. And then you get a certificate that shows that.
Would you tell me one example you told me that if someone break free, it doesn't have something to catch it?
Yeah, on some of our goals, they're old enough. So on the newer goals, they'll put a lack of better term, safety strap around there. So if that wire ever does, it'll catch. Some of our systems do not have that. right now.
So, any kind of warranty or life expectancy after they do this? No guarantees, no nothing. In other words, we're spending all that money to get a piece of paper saying we've done it.
And the bleachers should work. So like any of our high school guys here. So especially here, like at Wakefield, we had to have them fixed because we couldn't get them out from the wall. So they had to grease and rearrange. I don't know what all they did. It was $5,000 or something, maybe 4,900. I can't remember, 3,900, something like that. Same thing. That's what we get is the bleachers will pull out from the wall and then they service them.
Any idea when the last time we had somebody do this at the high school?
We could not find a.
Nobody's ever done it ever, but since I've been here.
Yeah.
But you know, the district gym is what, how old? We got new at the middle school. Wakefield gym was built in 01, so.
This being everything wouldn't be so expensive. We got on a rotating basis where every 5 years they go through one or however we do it 3 years, maybe it would help out too. Set up something like that. So anything mechanical like that is gonna wear and wear and tear, I have issues. I move the final approval to hire Heartland Seating to service and repair the bleacher system at CCCHS and the district gym. Motion second, all those in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Technology network infrastructure,
How about the basketball?
is that included in there? Wasn't on the motion.
Different quote for basketball. I thought you were using one on basketball and one on bleachers.
We would need a separate one for their different companies. Thank you for catching that. Yeah.
What's the other company?
Carroll would be the basketball goals.
And the bleachers was somebody else.
Heartland.
Heartland.
So I move to give final approval to hire Carol to service the basketball goals,
Service and repair.
service and repair the basketball goals at CCCHS at District Gym.
So that's the whole.
And Wakefield,
That's
whole district, okay. So I'll start.
That's
over.
all basketball.
29 of them.
So I move to give final approval to hire Carol to service and repair all basketball goals in the district.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor? Motion carries 6-0. Now we can go to the networks and Ben.
Well, Ben's here tonight. Him and I wanted to present to you guys, we have a need from our technology plan for this year from the budget. And when we were thinking back, I think some of the newer board members hadn't dealt with E-rate very much, so we tried to put a little information in there. E-rate is federal funding and is for public schools and public libraries to ensure they have the access that they need to function and have high-speed internet. So I'm gonna let Ben kind of explain what our need is and our process. So
All right, yeah, E-rate's funded by the telcos, basically, they fund it, so on your phone bill, you'll get a little thing on there for, I think it's labeled USAC probably. And it's just like $1 fee on your phone bill or something, so that's kind of how it's all funded. Basically, there's two categories of funding. Category one is your data transmission, and this is your internet access, so we use this for internet access and for our WAN, our wide area network. Basically, that connects all of our schools together so that we can communicate with all of our schools at one time. And we do both of those. We're doing through Twin Valley, and we have contracts through them. We renew I think every 3 years. We look at that contract and renew that contract and put it out for bid. So they've had it for quite a while. So that's category one. And category two is basically for internal connections. That would include our Wi-Fi is included in that, all of our switches, and the switches are what we're going to look at tonight. Basically, that's when everything comes out in the network, they all have to plug in somewhere. They plug into a switch, and the switch helps everything communicate. So that's what the switches are. And it also covers things like cabling, routers, and it does cover UPSs, which are battery backups, which we have gotten funded for some battery backups. These days, it's basically we get about a 70% discount on all those bills. So our internet bill, we pay 30%, I'm sorry. USAC pays 70% of it, so we're paying about 30% of the bill. So it's a pretty good deal, and it helps us out a lot with funding. Category one is basically just approved every year, the category one. The category two, you're on a 5-year cycle with category two. So within a 5-year period, we have a certain dollar amount that we can spend that they'll provide us, and we just use that. If we use it all up, that's all we can use, and we haven't really gotten close to that amount. They give you a pretty good amount, so.
you can see on there, on the yellow little chart, we have 234,000 remaining out there. This would, some of this would tap into that, but I don't know that we've ever used the full amount. Because there's always a 30% expense to the district that you have to account for. So if we can't account for that, then we don't use it.
And some of the UPSs are kind of tough because those things, you know, a lot of times you don't know when they're gonna die, you know, so they last anywhere from 1.5 to 5 years. So we try to get some on there, and we have some that are going out now. We're just gonna do replace the batteries, which are cheaper than getting whole new UPS units. So, but that's something, you know, if you have to plan this out basically about 8 months ahead of time on what you're gonna do the next year. So it's kind of tricky sometimes on, you know, what you're gonna need. You really have to kind of try to guess ahead and see what you're gonna need. So,
And we're not asking for approval tonight. We just wanted to present it tonight. And let you, you know, kind of digest all this and then, look for approval if we could in October, because we have to get on their schedule in order to, you want to talk about what your vision was for that?
yeah, we're hoping that they can come out over Christmas break. So I've contacted them, and we still haven't got it finalized, but we're gonna try to have them come out for Christmas break when we're not in session. Because you have to take the network down to put these in place. So we don't want to do that, you know, of course, during the school day. So we're gonna we're hoping we can get in on that time slot and do that. And do you want to talk about how much the bid was and?
Yeah,
Okay, when, on the quote we have, the quote has some other things on there too. It has some of our filtering stuff is on there, which is filtering is funded by USAC too, some of the filtering, not all of it, but some of it is, and our firewalls on there. We had a couple other things that were on there. But the majority of that bid came for the switches, and it was
we
about,
put a green box around
yeah,
the NCS
I
bid,
think it was just a little over $95,000, about a little under 96,000.
95,818.
Yep, 95,818. So that's the bid for that. And USAC will pay, our E-rate is gonna pay for 70% of that, so we only have to pay 30% of that bill. So you have that, we have that.
28, so.
Yeah, 28,000 out of the 95,000, what it costs to do that, so.
And we have 40 budgeted right now.
And that includes them coming in, doing the install, getting everything set up, and NCSs are the ones that got the bids. Everything for E-rate you have to submit for bid, and then we have a rubric that Jacqueline and I have to go through to evaluate. The highest thing on that rubric has to be the cost, and NCS has done a lot of stuff for us. They've always been pretty competitive with their prices on the stuff they do, so. So they got the bid, and we have those bid matrices, I think you do.
Yeah, I put those on there.
Okay, if you can look at the bid matrices and see how we evaluated those, so.
The way they do,
Is this bid really given January 8th of 2024?
yeah, because we have to submit all this to USAC well in
And they're
advance.
still good with that?
Mhm. When they send that, if they're dealing with.
Okay.
this
Well, I'm just
whole
saying, I seen the
they
date
have
on,
to- they have
seen
to
the date
follow.
on the bid was back in January.
Yeah, and we.
They know that because they're sending it in so far ahead of time.
Yeah, and I think we start the bid process in November where we start getting those bids submitted and everything, so. It's quite a lengthy process, and the E-rate is very complicated. It's a very complicated thing. We have, Smoky Hills does it, Tamara Berg does it. She does a great job. She goes in and she understands everything and, comes back to us to help us understand, stuff changes with it every year. So she comes in and presents all that stuff to us. So they do a good job.
The bid process is, I think, kind of neat for you guys to look at too, the way the rubric works. Because someone could have a little bid, but if they don't, if their equipment doesn't seamlessly come into ours, or they don't, the quality of service, coming out, repairs and questions, those things play into that. So that is one way you can wait, but like Ben said, the price has to be at least 20% of that rubric. It has to be the highest chunk out of there.
Yeah, the most considered thing. Yeah, and there will be companies that just bid from, just we get a random bids in sometimes, and you try to call them and you can't contact people, and it gets a little questionable on some of those bids that come in for this, because it's open basically to everyone in the nation, so.
And even at that, it ended up being $30,000 less
Yeah.
than the other one.
We usually contact 2 or 3 vendors that we know are good, make sure we get, 2 or 3 valid bids on each one, so.
Any questions we can? answer?
Yeah, and I'm just curious about, this cover, for instance, like vendor support?
There is some stuff on there there is some stuff on there that we have, and we have it through NCS, so we have, I think it's on that bid down near the bottom. Yeah, MBIC, that is, we purchase 50 hours through them of service a year, and if we don't use the 50 hours, we don't have to pay it, but it's something we have on there, so that they came out and they did some stuff for us, a couple weeks ago, and they helped us in the kitchen at the high school, and so we use some of those hours for that, so.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks. So we'll put it on there as action for the next month then.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, Wakefield Water line.
Yeah, so there's a locker room down at Wakefield, and there's a water line that was compromised, just old. And the problem is the valves inside the concrete floor. And so we've looked at a lot of different options. And here in the last couple of days, I think we did come to a resolution that might be significantly cheaper So we might want to table this one and let us further investigate that.
Or is it something that needs to be fixed before next month?
What's that?
Well, I think we, like by
Should we fix it before next
significantly, I'm talking like it could be paid for out of the maintenance budget.
Oh,
So we could just get that put perhaps.
And it would fix it to where it's not something that's or a good chance it's not reoccurring.
Yeah, I've been consulting a little bit on Jeff on it with his expertise and thought, and Jeff, I don't know.
At some time, I mean, it's just like the deal down at the other end with the tunnel and, you know, you just have to bite the bullet and do some stuff for that.
Right. Sure.
At some time, you're gonna, because the water lines right now in that bathroom are all galvanized pipe. So you know what happens to galvanized pipe every time, it goes from 2 inch to a half inch, so. But I think if we got another option, we should explore it, and if we can pay it out of something else instead of us biting the bullet. That seemed an awful lot to me for what's there. And it might be a temporary fix, you know, to get us until we replace a bunch of, I mean, in that part of the building, you got the home ec room, you got that locker room. You got a couple drinking fountains, you got some other stuff that all feed off that galvanized pipe. So,
All right. Well, let's just take a look at and see what we find out. Okay. So then. Next meeting,
So the next few months, we'll start with, our directors will come each month, give their annual report. So we go grounds and maintenance, food service, technology. Yeah, they'll all be here in the next few months. I forget the order.
good. We gotta do the work call policy. Brand thing, is that, I would like for us to look at that handicap parking type of thing, if there's a way to do something like that.
I think that's not our problem.
Okay,
I think that's a city street easement. City needs to address that. They're the ones that put the no parking sign up, not us. I mean, that's not that, where he's talking, there's a street easement up there and our stuff is off the easement. So if something needs to be done, I think it needs to go to the city of Clay Center, because it's their street. It's kind of like the lighting and the naming of the street. I mean, it's not our street to do that with. You know, and I'm not against doing it, but I don't think it's our problem.
okay.
I mean,
I'll check with the city.
Personally, I don't think it's our problem.
Okay, I'll visit with somebody from the city and just see what type of direction.
Yeah, and I just, you know, it's, like I say, it's their street, you know, and if they wanna put some gravel up there and create and here's my other thing too, I think if we create a handicap parking space, we're gonna have to make it handicap accessible. Or somebody is. I mean, you're not just gonna be able to put a parking space up there and not have a sidewalk or something going to it. Because you're gonna get that one person. How do I get to the field?
Well, I think this is more sit in the car and watch the game, like what.
Well, I understand that, but I think the handicap laws are gonna make it accessible.
Okay.
Regardless of what you do, I think they're gonna make it accessible. So, and like I say, I'm not against it.
No,
I
we
just
just need
don't
to
think
check
it's,
everything.
I don't think it's our problem.
Right.
To tell you the truth.
I'll do a little bit of work on that, or I can tell you that. I'll do a little bit of work there. And report back. Okay, very good, sounds good. Anything else for next meeting? And you can always email me or whatever, and we'll get to that. I think Dave has signed up, obviously, with me for the agenda. Hey, if I didn't let you know, I apologize for that.
I
but
think
yeah.
somebody, not there, something, I can't.
Okay. I don't remember that.
Agenda, we still don't have anything. Nothing new on the Tiger House at this point. I see they started, which is good.
Yeah.
Just that, food service director in the park, that's a future agenda we just talked about. Anything else?
Yeah, probably 5 minutes, staff.
Okay, so with that, we'll take a short break here for about 5 minutes and we'll come back.
Can somebody sign my dues papers? Introduce yourself. And the bleachers went in around 2002. James Zacharias had just started coaching.
Longest employee we have. Mary Ellen is long.
Introduce yourself.
I'm not surprised by that.
Really? They're waiting.
Longevity is good.
How you doing?
What do you want me to? Retired in 1981. And Mary Mellen's been here since 1972.
Probably so.
That's- So you're gonna be here in like 2065.
Like a really long time.
Yeah.
Still sitting in that chair.
It'd be a different chair by then.
Yeah, hopefully you get a new one.
Hopefully they will.
Yeah, no kidding. This building's still be wild.
How long? Like, well, my board is on Japanese, like, 22. Yeah. That's still so. You gotta go. No, that's not my goal.
Yeah, I gotta go to not be.
Yeah, that's, no, yeah. I go away. I need to. Great area.
Yes, and that's, so future, you're November, yeah. Okay. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Telling Joel, I don't consider this a hobby. Don't expect me to be like Mike.
Nothing else to do.
Yeah.
You're gonna retire, but still come to the board meeting.
Yeah, that's right.
Easy professors like that.
Your Mondays
They
are.
retire, but then they just keep showing up.
Keep showing up.
What are you doing?
You didn't retire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So conservative. No. After you have one. Not probably the one I.
Matt Weller does those, yes.
We'll start doing those monthly.
He emails those out, and when I saw that, I thought, you must have been the email. Deal. So I think we had one last month.
Should give them an opportunity to talk.
Oh, yeah. He's back. Is that this thing there? I'll go ahead and sign it.
Yeah.
It's there.
For your blue pen.
Well, I don't miss it. Yeah.
Oh.
Blue.
Okay, great. And then, Andrea. So, what things to sign on this, depending on how long we have.
There's still talk. Somebody goes and breaks them.
Okay, all the red tees.
All red keys. Yes, you spend a lot of money. It's a lot of signatures.
Yeah.
I'll give you some notes.
While you guys are in.
Executive session, I'll go through that code, but anything like down, I just don't have to do it. I say, hey, that's like, no.
There you go.
See on the flyer, do you get your birthday out there?
No, I'm in Kansas City.
Oh,
Council suit. You're in your forties, they don't really have any minutes, it's just another day.
Well, I tell my kids, well, we're not having that day this year.
Another day.
Yeah, the one sent the last one. Everybody back.
Please, you know.
Okay, everybody, we'll resume our meeting. Is that, where it was. So I moved to go into executive session to discuss personnel pursuant to the non-elected personnel exemption under KOMA, and that the opening meeting shall resume at 7:27. The executive session should include the board, the superintendent, and captain. Right, motion second, all those in favor? Motion carries 6-0.
Got 3 minutes.
Let's wait till, all right.
Okay.
I just want you to,
That lady that was in the back.
hey, oh, Lord.
Oh,
Yeah.
I better even know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who she was. She came in, but I saw her drop them over there. Did they say raise or did she make them?
I bet these came from the.
They're from market.
Well, it looks like it. I wonder where you buy those little.
I bet that's a salad container.
Oh.
Like with the to-go salad?
Yeah.
That you?
Time for the August and Anita show, what do you got? Is the neighbor moving? Are you losing a neighbor?
Losing a neighbor?
I still,
It looks like one of those houses was for sale. Did I make that up?
By me?
That's what I thought it looked like. I'm telling you, girl.
The lots around the circle drive. Oh, that's the one, that's by you. Where your house is,
What
where
is this?
Carlson's are on the corner, it's like 2 down from Carlson's.
Oh, that's somebody just bought that.
They did, but they're not good.
Wait a minute. We're just talking about a house for sale.
She thought it was my neighbor, it's hers.
Yeah, 4 of us. How much time do you think, Shannon?
Oh. I don't know, maybe 6, 8 minutes to
We'll just call it 10. Call it
10,
good.
just,
To
yeah,
make sure it's all right.
yeah.
Okay, we will, resume the regular meeting. And, I move, we go into executive session to discuss personnel pursuant to the non-elected personnel exemption under MMA. And the open meeting shall resume at 7:38. The executive session should include the board, the superintendent, and council.
Second.
Got a second? All those in favor? Motion carries 4-0.
Got more info on that.
I'm glad you know what house it was, cause I was like, oh, that must be this.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Did they already found someone? They, I guess someone else they're going. I was just.
We're moving.
Oh my God. Yeah, it has to be big. Yeah. Interesting. Oh, yes. Oh, really? Yeah. That's one thing, yeah. So I think. Yeah. Well, and then the punishment. Okay, and then that one, yeah. Mhm. Yeah. There's something on you, or is it? I was like, yeah, no kidding. I couldn't miss you, Megan.
Not them, but the house.
No, my.
No. Oh, that's funny. I know I did. I just was home. I didn't see anything there.
Yeah, they're very soft.
Oh, they're phone. In a good way. I'm gonna be stuck with them, yeah.
Okay. You got it, Kira.
My daughter's best friend passed away this morning.
Oh, what, did she have a sickness? Or was it an accident or?
Huntington's.
Oh, man.
Her dad passed away. He was 62 and he passed away from it. She was 42.
Jacqueline, are you there? So it's hereditary.
Huh?
I think Ashley's must be in her 5. Did you look? That's what I think. I think I remember looking at them.
I'll go look.
Well, we got our bedroom.
Oh, I saw your basement bedroom going.
Yes. Got it done. Stacy came and we installed the floor last week. And then yesterday she came and we did all of the door casings. I had everything painted. The door trim, the floor trim, And then I had to do a bunch of touch up, because once the light comes on, when we have the lights installed, it's like, oh. I needed an extra coat.
Can see a few.
You couldn't see those light spots, so. So I did last night, was touched up the color. It's called Morning Zen, so kind of hoping that if I need a calm space, that's where I'm gonna go. But Linkies. 5. No. 6, Linky 6. And I said, well, we'll put bunk beds, we're gonna make a bunkhouse for the boys. So he gets on and he looks.
Big honor.
Yeah.
My county board of education. You're welcome, Mayor. What was that? Huh? Hang on.
But he finds a picture of like a double bunk and a bunk here, and it's got a desk and all this stuff, but he thought all the stuff in the picture came with it. The laptop, the rolling
Oh.
chair, all the pictures.
It's
on
misleading.
it.
It's misleading post.
Yeah.
I bet it was for a good price
Yeah, but
for all that.
not with all that.
That's tough.
Yeah. Okay. That will resume the regular meeting. Moving on, we have the personnel report. Any questions?
I move we approve personnel as presented.
Second. Motion and second, all those in favor? Carry 6-0. And then adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
Motion, and a second, all those in favor? Motion carried. 6-0. See everybody next month. Appreciate it. I got to this one. Thanks.
The yellow bee.
Hey, I'd say one thing we could do with that is, so that, everyone will say, I just said, these other things, us. You just said to get them.
It's all a little worky.
Where there's three of us with bread or whatever.
Which is tough. We were laying about 100 yards away from the waterway, overlooking the trees, and he's there. He's getting ready to flip the stick.
What makes it a law?
Yeah, I know. But we have.
Well, I didn't see you in the service. Certainly can wait. Oh, yeah, how was it? We took our grandson.
Oh,
It wasn't bad for a traveling school. They
I'm
made
sorry,
the-
what's that?
I didn't know if you wanted
Oh.
to separate it, I didn't.
Thank you.
They had a big slide set up. And you could have a pony ride. Yeah. Then they had a bounce house. Then they had these little light up.
We're set up.
Pulled out. Then they walked around, they had a circus coloring.
Very
So
prosperous.
we bought, it was $4. We bought one of those cotton candy.
I'll like do my phone, but I need to get in my library and do some stuff. and I can't
Anything
do it,
with
but
crowds.
that's where I go.
So I said,
Over here.
yeah.
They thought they were thinking about.
We have teachers give ideas like.